To me, finance is one of the key management activities in any organisation. It's probably the least well managed one. Most organisations, particularly when they start up, are looking to, they've been set up with a particular purpose in mind. And one of the few things that they ignore, because most people are very uncomfortable with finances, they want to look after the numbers. As you start growing as an organisation, this becomes more and more important, and actually finding people who can come in and support that financial function is quite a difficult issue. And the people who are either running the organisation, either in the management or report capacity, do need to find that they actually understand, without becoming accountants, that they do need to have some understanding of the numbers and what they mean and what the implications for their organisation are. So to me, the whole point of actually looking at the financial function is that of using it as a management tool, you need to be better able to manage your organisation, and this is not about you becoming an accountant. So this is just actually getting to grips with the key fundamentals that allow you to say, I think I understand what's going on, or I know what questions I need to ask, or where I get to bring in help. If you can get to that stage in your management abilities, actually that's quite an impressive feat to do, because a lot of organisations don't really get near that. And a lot of failures, again, we constantly get this from funders and local authorities, and one of the biggest fears is that the poor governance and poor financial management within smaller organisations is what stops them giving them more funding. Even when people come up with really exciting ideas or project proposals, quite often they're turned down or only get a fraction of what they're asking for, because these particular building blocks are not in place. So again, what I'm going to do is try and get through quite a lot of material, but I will be emphasising this through all the way through. This is a communications tool, it's a management tool. This is not about turning you into accountants. Basically, management accounts are an internal function. As it says, it's about managing the internal functions of your organisation. It helps you with strategy and planning, because that exercise we talked about before, where you turn around and say, this is what we want to do, these are the strategic objectives we want to achieve, this is the business plan we want to create. What you will find is that when you start putting numbers to some of these things, you will have to change your strategy and business plan, because things don't always work out the way you hypothetically think they should. And looking at the numbers, actually trying to translate that vision into a plan that works, by looking at the numbers and the cash flows, implications, and the funding implications, actually makes your business planning strategy far more realistic. So this is almost as if going through the fundamentals of finance is rounding your workshop from being something very visionary, this is what we want to do, to saying actually, if you look at the numbers, this is what is more likely to happen. So it helps in the translating the vision into a plan in terms of strategy and planning. And it also helps you to estimate when and where you need resources. Because when you start looking at the future, you have to think about things in terms of cycles. When do we need the money? When are we going to reach out to do certain things? Because most organizations, people go on holiday in August. A lot of activities stop in December. The same will happen with people you're working with. So the finances have to reflect all this, that actually you'll have less activities during the summer months when people are not there, and higher activities in the autumn. It gets colder in the autumn and winter, so your heating costs and utility bills go up. You start playing around with these numbers and filling them into your strategy and business plan, and it actually helps you move that actually we can't do some of the things we thought we can because the cash implications haven't been thought through. So it actually helps you make that into a reality. You're also using finance as a tool for measuring whether what you set out to do is actually happening, whether your management capabilities are in place. Managers have been given, allocated a budget to deliver something. Are they actually delivering what they said they would? Are they able to do it? So not only are you monitoring them, you're monitoring other activities within a larger organization. You'll be looking at managers side by side. They've been given a budget, they've been given a budget, who's performing against our budget, who isn't, what needs to be done, what needs to be improved. And quite often charities are also looking at them what they're achieving against other charities or other organizations are doing in the same sector. Are they doing it more efficiently, more effectively? By looking at the numbers, it gives you an idea as to what you can do to keep improving your performance. So that idea of actually measuring and reviewing is for you to take an action. We've looked at this is what the information is telling us, and that is we need to do something, we need to change something, we need to take decisions. And what I found, again, quite consistently is that when I work with people, they turn around and say, yes, we've looked at all this, and yes, there is an issue. And when I ask them what they've done about it, they haven't done it. Just doing the exercise in itself isn't a management exercise. That's a precursor to taking action. As a manager, what you're doing is taking action, taking decisions. So you're using all this information to actually keep taking decisions, keep improving your organization. Now, if you think about it, things seem to, in a way, things seem to work in reverse. In terms of setting your strategy, you're starting off with your strategic objectives. This is what we want to achieve long term. In order to achieve that, these are the outcomes that what we do, the activities we do will need to generate. These are the activities we need to undertake. And in order to do that, these are the resources we require. When you come to doing the financial side of it, it's going the other way. That actually, looking at the resources, this is how the resources are going to be used to generate those outcomes, the things that we want to help us get towards our vision. And the way financial planning works is that you start off by turning around and saying, having decided that this is how strategically we want to go forward, what are the resources we require? Now, this could be done at an organizational level, it could be done at a project level, departmental level, depending on the size of the organization. So I'm looking at the resources I require. I need to think about how that money is going to be spent, and where that money, how am I going to get the money in to be able to do that? And I need to work out how that money is going to come in, how am I going to use the money, when that money is going to be needed. Are there any dependencies that I can't actually do something unless something else has been done before? So that may actually order how the money comes in and how it's used, and who's going to do those activities. That will then give you a resource working plan. Yes, we started off saying we think these are the resources we need, but then when you work through this, it actually gives you a practical plan, a workbook to go along with, and that will also help you to generate a plan B. Now, I'm talking about a plan B. This is what happens if you don't get the money you need. Have you thought about the consequences? We need to reduce our activities, increase our activities, do something differently. Whilst I'm going through all this exercise of how I'm going to spend the money, I also want to think of alternatives. If I only get 90% of what I asked for, what would we do? If I only got 50% of what I asked for, what would we do? I need to build in that thinking at this stage. That's part of the financial planning as I go forward, having thought about this. And again, this is quite important because in terms of either setting up support groups, research groups, you may have some ideas. We're going to start off locally, we want to go national, this is what we're going to do. What happens if you don't get the resources you need, you don't get the support? Well, okay, we'll only do so much this year, then we'll look to go forward next year. So that's going to impact, again, on your strategy and planning. So, as I said, you're using numbers all the time as a communication tool, as a methodology of comparing how you're doing from an organizational level right down to project by project and comparing yourself against your competition. You're also using this as a methodology of understanding what changes need to be made within your organization. Are things working out as you expected? If not, what needs to be changed? Why does it need to be changed? What can remain the same? All the time what you're trying to do is use this information to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of your organization, that you're actually improving the delivery of what you do. Because again, one of the big issues, I know I won't come that we're not looking for funding at the moment, but for most organizations that are doing anything where they're getting support from the public, getting donations, or people are getting research grants, or they're getting support, or it could be that you've got families supporting you for the work you're doing. There would be the question, constant question, are you using the money in the best way possible, or is it being used efficiently and effectively, and we hope it's not being wasted in bureaucracy. And one of the things is having these sort of systems in place and being able to answer those questions is important. This is how we're using the money. We're on top of it. We understand what we're doing, and we can report to you. And we're completely transparent about what we do with your money. So, part of the management planning is to build in systems to ask that question constantly. Is the money being utilized or received as anticipated? We thought we were going to get the money in on this date. Is it coming in? We thought we were going to spend so much by this time. Have we spent it? Did we overspend? Underspend? What's going on? We need to keep looking at this and keep asking the question, if those things have not happened, why hasn't it happened? Is there a fundamental flaw in our strategy and our plan? Or is it external circumstances, things beyond our control, and we can't manage? If there is a fundamental problem within your strategy, what it's saying to you is that you need to go back and rethink what you were doing. Maybe what you were doing wasn't the right thing, it was the wrong thing. Put it right before actually it gets so big it bites you. Also, in terms of whatever it is, apart from the numbers, are you actually achieving the outcomes in the time frame that you actually set out to do? We've got money in, we've got resources in because we want to do certain activities. We have thought that by 6 months into the year we would have achieved X number of outcomes. We would have had so many workshops, or we would have research papers out, or we'd have met up with so many beneficiaries and reviewed their progress against this particular illness. How are you doing against that? Because if you're not achieving those targets, again, it's telling you that something's gone wrong. The numbers may be right. You're spending money exactly as you anticipated. Actually, the outcomes are not working out as well as we anticipated. Again, there is something fundamentally wrong. We need to go back and rethink what we're doing. And again, we find this with, and I will use the example of charities. There are certain of the funders who give charities money and say that actually if you don't hit the target, if you don't hit the support, we have the right to fall back the money we've given. The big lottery fund is quite famous for that. I actually haven't come across an example of them doing that, but that's written into their contract. And quite often the smaller charities don't keep on top of the outcomes. And it's only when it comes towards the end of the fund they suddenly realise they've got 6 months of activity left to deliver, but they've only got 1 month's funding left. Because they didn't pick up the fact that their outcomes were not being delivered as anticipated much earlier on. So again, this is part of the systems that you need to build in. We're not just looking at the numbers, we're also looking at our activities. So what we're looking at is twofold things. We're looking at the one hand on the numbers in terms of the budget. This is what we thought we would do. The activities we've achieved, what has actually happened, and in terms of the cash, what did we think we would use by this stage, and what has actually happened. And we should be constantly measuring this every month. Are we on target? And if not, why not? What should we do about it? Now the thing is, a lot of people get completely baffled by being given pages and pages of numbers. I've said it on board meetings, and this doesn't apply just to small organisations, it doesn't just apply to charities. I've seen this in big commercial organisations as well. The board meets up, senior management team meets up, and they're given this forecast with just numbers there. People switch off. You can actually see people's eyes rolling. They're just going, oh my God, I can't cope with this. Now, the point is, I mentioned, I'm going to keep reiterating this. Financial management is a communication tool. I've set up a charity myself. I'm on the board, I'm the chair of a charity, I'm on the board of a number of other charities. And I run social enterprise myself, my friendly organisation. I hate seeing numbers and numbers and numbers. I turn around to people and say, give me pie charts, so I can understand them. Give me graphs, whatever it is. Make it so that I can understand it. And people say, you can't ask the finance department to do that. And I say, yes I can. They're there to help me. I'm not there to help them. You may not have a finance department, you may have a bookkeeper, or someone else who does the financial function for you. Now the thing is, accountants talk their own language. I don't understand what they say. So I ask them to do it in a way that I actually understand. So I don't care how they do it. And this is a system we've been using in one of the charities I work with. the report is, just give me something very simple on one sheet of A4. We've got 7 or 8 different activities. Are we doing okay? Is it green? I've got a smiley on there. Is this something I need to worry about? Not at this stage. We need to worry about it a bit later on. This is something we need to take action on, and these red ones are something that we need to monitor closely. And as you can see, there's very little on there. And the numbers actually are quite limited because there are only a certain number of key numbers that I need to take a decision on. I don't need to see all those figures. So part of your job is to turn around and say, what way can I actually receive information that will allow me to understand what's going on and to take decisions? And it does not have to be an Excel spreadsheet. It doesn't have to be some sort of Sage printout with thousands and thousands of numbers on it. It could be something as beautiful as all those lovely graphs up there, but still give you that information in a way that's useful to you. And you can actually take decisions on that. It is about making sure that all of you who are reviewing it understand it, it meets your requirements, and gives you the information that you need. Also, that it's given to you in a timely fashion. It comes to you in a time where you can take action on it. There's no point giving it to you months later where things that you needed to take decisions on have long gone. So you want to make sure it's relevant, it's appropriate, and that you can take action on it immediately. Consistently, I'm told by people, surely we can't ask for that, we can't ask our finance department to do that. I'm just reiterating that. Or you use external accountants, you use firm of auditors or accountants to come and do the financial stuff for you. You're paying them. Tell them this is how I want it. I don't care if you think my level of financial knowledge is not in line. This is what I need, this is what I want to get. And this is also no harm in putting this sort of stuff into your reports to your funders or your stakeholders or supporters, because the chances are they'll understand this better than giving them sheets and sheets of paper with lots of numbers on it. Now, in trying to work out how much money you need and how you're going to go about generating the income, one of the tools that we recommend is actually starting out and saying, looking forward, how much money do we need, and breaking it down into 3 bits. What do we absolutely need? If we did not get, we couldn't function as an organization. What would actually we need? What is the additional amount we need? Because that will help us function better. And there's the last bit, which is nice to have. Actually, if you didn't get it, it wouldn't matter too much. Then look at what you already got. What has been promised to you, or what have you already got in hand? And this then is the final bit. This is what I need to go out and get. This is what I need to go out and fund for. I need to go out for research funds or funds to support the management or whatever it is. And what I'm going to do is start getting a strategy together of listing out all the possible sources of funding that I might go for, or contracts I might go for, which particular bit of the project or research I'm doing or activity I'm doing am I going to approach these funders for. What are the capabilities and resources that will be required to do this? Because one of the problems with doing this is that you turn around and say, well, go and approach this funder and ask for X amount of money. Then they turn around and say, yes, well, that requires you to do X, Y, and Z, which sort of meets what you want, but you haven't got the resources internally to deliver that. So you want to make sure that you have the capability or resources, or that's built into part of the funding, so that if you get the money, you can actually deliver what's been asked of you. How much are you going to ask for? Try and work out what the likelihood is that you will receive that money. If it's someone you've gone to before and they've been very supportive, the higher likelihood. If it's someone completely new you've never approached before, maybe low. Again, this is the sort of thing that gets better and better as you do it more. And basically, by multiplying how much you're asking for and the likelihood, gives you a percentage figure of your expectation. This is how much we think we'll get. And if you add all this up, that gives you a figure of what you might expect to get in the next 12 months in terms of funding. So it's one way of estimating what my future funding, how much funding I am expected to get. I'm going to build that into my budget. The reason I'm telling you this is that most people turn around and say, at the start of the year, we have no idea what money we're going to get. What figure do we put into our budget? And I'm suggesting that we can use a tool such as this, saying, I'm going to approach X number of funders and this is what I'm going to ask for. this is my expectation of what I'll get out of them, and I can actually come up with some sort of figure. That's a rule of thumb. This is what we're aiming for. This is going to form our budget, and that funding that will come in. And against that, these are the activities we're going to deliver. But this is a dynamic tool. It doesn't stand still. Some of the funders will turn around and say, we're not going to fund you, or we'll only fund you some of the money you ask, or more than you ask for. And as you go through the year, other funders will come in and go out. So that figure will keep changing. At least at the start of the year, it gives you a figure to start with, which is what scares a lot of people. Just say, I have no idea. Please don't ask me to do a budget. This is what I'm going to say. This is how I'm going to anticipate what money I'm going to get in. What you're then doing is turning around and saying that I'm going to create some budgets. I'm going to put some numbers to that vision, that strategic plan that we talked about in the previous session, so that I know what money I need in, when I need it, and how I'm going to utilize it. And what you're doing is you start off by saying, let me do a forecast for the next 3 years as a minimum. Sometimes the larger organizations do a 5-year forecast, but for most small organizations, I'd say 1 year is not enough. It's better to start thinking in 3-year terms. When you approach funders, quite often funders are looking to do 3-year grants, or certainly a lot of research is long term. They're not interested in the short term thing. If you give me this money, how are you going to use it in the next 3 years and 5 years? What activities are you going to undertake? So you create a forecast, usually based on assumptions relating to 3 to 5 years going forward. And again, the forecast is a tool just to check and verify and validate that strategy and business plan that we talked about in the previous session. That was something we did without numbers. Now we're putting numbers on it, saying, if you look forward over the next 3 years, this is what we want to do, these are the numbers, how are we going to spend the money, this is the money that we need to bring in, what does it look like? And then actually being able to go to a funder or anyone who you're looking to support from and say, this is what we intend to do over the next 3 years, this is the sort of money we're looking for. We're looking for X amount this year, but we'll want so much more in year 2 and year 3. And each year you're rolling forward all the time because you're having to think ahead. You can't wait till the year end to go out and look for funding there. So this is something you have to be planning for on a constant basis. Again, coming back to this, what you may be asked to do is quite ready to be asked. We want you to create a revenue forecast. Now, a revenue forecast is a very odd thing because it's actually turning around and saying it's nothing to do with cash. It is just, what do you think? How do you anticipate what's going to happen in the future? What sort of monies are going to come in and when are they going to come in? And what your hypothetical expenditure against that? What is it going to be month by month? And is it going to produce a surplus or a loss in that particular month? And it's nothing to do with cash. It's something you just say, this is what we anticipate getting in, this is what we anticipate going out. Is it going to make a surplus or a deficit? And it's used as a proof that your project is going to be sustainable and viable. You may then be asked also about a cash forecast, and then you actually have to redo those numbers. Say, let's not look at the hypothetical situation, we have to look at the actual number. When do we actually anticipate the cash to come in, and when are we going to spend the cash? And you actually will find it comes out with quite a different result on the revenue forecast. As a small organization, I would always suggest that you do the cash forecast because that actually keeps you on top of the cash. The reason I'm saying there is a difference between this is just that if you are, for instance, if you are receiving money in terms of a contract, say you've got a contract with someone to deliver some services or you're delivering some research, you invoice them in January, you might be lucky and they might pay you in March. So in your revenue forecast, you're saying, I'm anticipating a certain amount of money to come in January. Your cash forecast will say, actually, the money's not going to come until March. Someone's going to give you a grant. You anticipate the grant committee meets in January and takes a decision to legally, they inform you in January, we're going to give you this money. Actually, by the time they've done the due diligence and release the money, maybe 2 months later. So there may be a difference between the revenue and cash forecast. But what the cash forecast does is actually identifies what gaps you're having in cash funding and how you need to overcome that. So you anticipate that and say, I need a bank overdraft facility in place or I need a loan facility in place in case we run out of cash. So again, the the organisations that can afford it tend to do both of these. So one actually says to them, the revenue forecast justifies what we're doing, yes, what we're doing seems to be the right thing, long-term and sustainable, and the cash forecast actually anticipates when there are going to be holes in our cash flow, and we need to make sure we cover that. And so the two are used side by side as management tool in managing the sustainability forward. And as I said, this is not something I expect most people to do. Get the experts to come in and do this. You've got to be able to look at those and understand what they're telling you. And if you don't understand it, keep asking them until they explain it in a way that you do understand. Having done those forecasts, 2 to 3 year forecasts, or 3 to 5 year forecasts, what you do is then generate a budget saying, okay, this is what we think we're going to do in the next 3 years. After that, what is it we're going to do in the next 12 months? Or we receive this amount of money and that's going to be our budget for the next 12 months. This is what we have to do in the next 12 months. We have actually got that time frame and we've now got to deliver against that money that we either got or we expect to receive. And quite often it's a little bit of a dance. I always think it's like going into tailors and saying, I want an overcoat that's that long and get it down to here. Because you know the limit to be the money that you're asking for to give you something less. What you're hoping for is, by asking for a lot more, they'll give you something that actually fits you and it's what you need, as opposed to something that's too short and you can't actually perform against. So it's always a little bit of a dance. The people applying for money always ask for more, the people with the money always want to give you less, and somewhere in the middle you meet. Hopefully that you've actually done that plan B so that if you don't get the amount of money you want, you know you've already thought through what you're going to do about it. Now, in terms of the budget, if you anticipate in the next 12 months this is the amount of money I'm going to get, you then have to closely monitor that. If that money doesn't come in or you overspend, you're going to be in trouble. So you want to make sure you communicated the targets to everyone within the organisation that this is the money we've got, this is what we haven't got any more, we've done that, you're going to get more. This is what we have to achieve within that. Can we do it? If you can't, what needs to change? And we need to closely monitor the performance every month. And the idea of using the budget is really to focus people's minds into are we achieving what we're doing, make sure that we don't get into trouble before there's something we can do about it. So, as I said, the budgeting process is where you're asking department by department, project by project, you're asking for some money, you go to the funders will give you something different from what you asked for. It's very rare that you get exactly what you want, and then you're left with the monies they've given you, and then you've got to perform against the monies you've received. In terms of actually setting up the budgetary process, you start off, as we did in the previous workshop, I've got a strategic plan. This is what I have. This is the vision of how we want to go forward. I've identified all the actions that we want to take to move us forward. I then want to cost this. How much is it actually going to cost? So I've quantified the resource requirements to meet that budget and create a budget that's been approved by your board. And then you start delivering. And what we're doing is constantly looking at reports, what's happening on those. I'm measuring actual to budget, and that is telling me now either things are going okay or things are not going okay. If things are going okay, we carry on. If things are not going okay, it means something's fundamentally wrong with my strategy and my assumptions, and I need to start the process again. I need to go back and look at it again. Now you need to give some time to anticipate that. You know, you don't keep changing everything every month. You might wait for something for 3 months, 6 months to see whether your assumptions are fundamentally wrong before you go back and change your budget. Now, in order to do these forecasts or budgets, the most important thing is your assumptions. What are the bases of doing these financial forecasts and budgets? Now, we should be able to come up with it, because we should be able to turn around and say that in order to do what we want to do, part of our strategic planning, we will need to employ X number of people, we'll need premises, we'll need IT systems, communication systems, utilities, travel, exhibitions, conferences, whatever it is. You should be able to anticipate what we're doing and where we're going to be spending money. If you get the assumptions right, You understand the assumptions, and they've been fully researched, and we've looked into this and researched it. We're very confident this is how much it's likely to cost us, and these are the resources you need. You can then find someone else to actually do the number crunching for you. They can't do the assumptions for you, only you can do the assumptions. I'm of an age where even when I went through university, we weren't allowed to use calculators. Basically, I did A-levels with a slide rule. I did university, where the university actually supplied us with calculators because most people couldn't afford it. And when I went through my early part of my career, I wasn't allowed to train on a PC because that was too valuable. You had all the tuning to look at PCs. My 14-year-old daughter now is an expert at using Excel. She does it at school. She comes in and shows me all these wonderful online booking systems and airline and hotel reservation systems she's created. I use her to do my financial forecast. So I come up with the assumption and say, can you do this for me? She goes, oh, this is great. Dad, this is so easy. Why can't you do it? I go, because there's so much better. All I'm saying is, this is what we should be good at. Actually coming up with the assumptions, getting someone younger who knows these things, so you know, these things to go and do the forecasting and the budgeting for us. So don't worry about the numbers. Just make sure you've got the assumptions right. Going back to the assumptions, the cost assumptions are dead easy to do. I know I've got to employ X number of people and I've got to have so many PCs and resources. It's very easy to go onto the web and find the cost for that. But understanding what my revenue requirements are much harder. Will I get the money I need to get it? People always find it quite difficult to do as part of your assumptions, which is why we use that tool I talked about earlier, which is building up a thing of your good approach, how much do we think we're going to get from them, what's the likelihood of getting it, and using that number as your revenue forecast in your budget. As I said, costs are much easier to predict. Also, bear in mind that when you go forward, there are certain things that you can control. There are certain costs that you can control, you can affect. There are certain costs or revenues that are outside your control. I've had people who rant and rave about the funders haven't given us this money and we should do something about it, we should go and argue with them when you're wasting your time, we're not going to give you more. So concentrate on areas as management that you can control. Also things like build-in seasonality. I talked earlier about the fact that August and December are months where not much activity takes place. Build that into your budget and forecast. If people go on holiday, or that during the winter the utilities go on. Have you built that into that? Have you built into your forecast spikes in resources because of changing weather, or the fact that you pay your utilities on a quarterly basis? Have you thought about these things? Also, again, don't get put off by things, or be aware of things that are outside your control, things like the weather itself. If you're running an outdoor activity, and we're going to have a summer fair, and it rains, actually you cannot control the rain. So you don't turn around and say, we're never going to do it again because it was a washout. It is, okay, this is something we can't anticipate for. Next year we might do it at an earlier time of the year. The rain is not going to affect it. So you've got to build the sort of common sense things into your budgets and forecasts. And a lot of people seem to, when it comes to forecasts and so on, actually seem to go out of their heads. You know, you ask people, why do you put down electricity charges for the year at £30 a month when you're running a community center or a research lab? They just say, well, it's even a normal number. And I say, would you pay that sort of amount of electricity charges in your home? And they go, no, we pay more in winter, less in the summer. And I said, so if you understand that, how it works at home, why aren't you doing it with your organization? So it is just a touch of common sense and building up on those assumptions again. Make sure that you're monitoring what's going on, comparing what happened against what you anticipated would happen, and take some action against it. So this looking at budget against actual is something called a variance analysis. You're constantly looking at variances. Was it up? Was it down? Why was it up? Why was it down? Most organizations use a rule of thumb. If anything wasn't, if your actual was 5 or 10% higher or lower than what you anticipated, you need to investigate it. If it's a small movement, don't worry about it. If that variance persists more than 2-3 months, then there's something wrong with one of your fundamental assumptions. You need to go back and change it. So again, you're using that variance analysis as a tool to check on what's going on. Again, it's testing your assumptions. Were the assumptions fundamentally right, or did they need changing? I did have a little exercise for you, but we've run out of time, so I'm not going to run with that. But what I would suggest is, if you feel like it, have a look at this sheet of paper. It's the top box is some lines from a budget for a petting zoo. Is everyone happy with what the petting zoo is? So it's where they rip you off, you take the kids there, they charge you a precious amount of money. This is based on a real case I had a few years ago. I had a new chief executive, and they had everything went wrong that month. When you look through that, you see income data sheets were down, spending on the canteen was down, certain things were up, and the board panicked. They were saying there's something wrong with the site, why is this happening? The second box actually shows you how the numbers in the top box are formed. Now, the reason I'm doing this example is that I would like you to look through it, because I think what you think has happened in there, why these things have happened, and what opportunities it throws out, because it's not all negative. If you want, you can email me, if you haven't got time to go through it here, email me, tell me what you think is happening, and I will give you a response as to what the numbers are telling you, and what is happening there, and what the opportunities are. It's quite an interesting case. The charity that ran this petting zoo were in a complete panic. And it turned out that actually some of the things they were worrying about were not worth worrying about, and some of the things, the opportunities they should have done, they completely missed. And a lot of it, I can pick up just from looking at the numbers. Some of it I needed further explanation. But again, if you, as I said, we haven't got time to go through it right now, I would suggest you look at it. If it is of interest to you, the presentations have got my email address on it. Email me with your thoughts on this and I will respond. Don't phone me, email me and I will respond. But it's quite an interesting exercise. Again, this is quite a good management tool, just looking at these sorts of numbers and saying, what are they telling you? Let's not just always look at the negative side. Sometimes it throws out opportunities to extract the positive.